Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I'm going to be reading and reflecting on Don't Be Sad by Dr. Aaidh al-Qarni. If you haven't heard of this book, it's such a beautiful book of a collection of stories and reflections and essentially ways in which to navigate life when hardships happen, when things go wrong. And I thought it would be ideal, particularly for myself as a counsellor who works with Muslim clients. And sadness is something that we all experience. And I thought that it would be really beneficial for us to go through this book. Essentially, I'm just going to be reading and then reflecting. So the chapter title is Contemplate and Be Thankful. And I think what a wonderful way to start, because I think a lot of us would benefit from more gratitude, particularly when things go wrong in our lives or even when things are right. We don't often slow down to think about the things that we have. And it's such a blessing for us to have the quality and the practice and the mindfulness of being able to slow down and particularly be grateful. A lot of the problems that we have can be alleviated if we focus on what's good and not what's not there. I'm not saying that we don't have hardships, absolutely we do. But if you're asking me what's the cure, it's not always about addressing the sadness, but sometimes remembering the good. Okay, so I love this chapter. So it says, Contemplate and be thankful. Remember the favours of Allah upon you and how they surround you from above and below, indeed from every direction. And it says, and if you would count the graces of Allah, never would you be able to count them. Okay, so and if you would count the graces of Allah, never would you be able to count them. And that's 1434. And it's so true. If all we did was sit here today and try to think about what's this blessing, what's that blessing, what's the next blessing, I think we could spend all day doing that. And I think that when some of us are, all of us, are at points of hardship, points of sadness, we could really do with reminding ourselves of this, that let me change my focus. Let me think about things that I can be grateful for and see where my mind and my body goes in just a few moments of doing that, and then practicing that day in, day out. So contemplate and be thankful. Remember the favours of Allah upon you and how they surround you from above and below, indeed from every direction. And Quran 14:34, and if you would count the graces of Allah, never would you be able to count them. Health, safety, nourishment, clothing, air and water, these all point to the world being yours, and yet you do not realize it. You possess all that life has to offer, yet you remain ignorant. Do you not see that Allah has made subject to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth, and amply bestowed upon you His favours, both apparent and unapparent? That's 31:20. So you have at your disposal 2 eyes, a tongue, lips, 2 hands and 2 legs. Then which of the blessings of your Lord will you, both jinn and man, deny? And I think that, the author goes on to write about more of this, but I want us to kind of slow down and think about what it would be to not have one of those blessings. And I know you've probably had these analogies given to you so many times, but I think on this, I really want you to sit down today and imagine, actually imagine what life would be like if you didn't have one of your blessings: an eye, an ear, hearing, something. I had a sinus infection some time ago, and I thought, subhanAllah, the ability that I just take breathing for granted, and it was such a bad sinus infection. It was really difficult for me to breathe at night. My throat would dry up, and we sleep every night on the premise and the belief that we're just going to wake up and everything's going to be okay, not realizing that it's that Allah that sustains us and gives us that. And I find that a lot of the challenges, particularly in therapy, is around often sadness about things that we wanted or blessings that we see that seem to be apparent to everybody, and then us not having that particular thing. It could be marriage, it could be children, it could be health, it could be an achievement, it could be anything really. But the mindset is that, why have I not got that thing? And I wanted that thing. I've wanted it forever. I dreamt about it. I've worked hard for it. Often they'll say they even use the worship of Allah. So it could be that I'm obedient. I pray. I've asked Allah for, but Allah hasn't given me this thing. And it's so interesting that because we live in a world where we see each other have things, that's the first thing that we have to catch ourselves and really think about. Well, I understand that this person has this particular blessing and I don't, but I also have certain things that they don't. And so if we focus on them and the blessings that they have, we forget our own blessings and the things that we're supposed to focus on. And they might have the thing that we want, but really desire the thing that we have. And perspective shift is such a key in maintaining our mental health and well-being. The second is, as we read here, gratitude. Why is it that just because we think that we desired a thing, just because we think that we didn't get a thing, that somehow it entitles us to feeling a certain way towards life, towards our own lives, like how we assess our lives, like we're deprived of something, or and all the other blessings around us seem to be minimized, or I don't know, like drowned away in some sort of mist, and the only thing that we can see is the thing that we don't have. And it happens with loss as well. So it could be a divorce, it could be a loss of wealth, a loss of effort, a loss of, sometimes people lose family members in different ways, whether that be death or separation. And again, as we go through the process, I think a lot of it is attached to this idea that we were somehow entitled to these things. Remember that everything we have is from Allah and it's a gift. We hardly do anything to get any of the things that we have. We did nothing to get the eyes that we have. We did nothing to get the bodies that we have, the families that we have, the achievements. We put in the effort, and Allah sees that effort, and Allah rewards us. And I think another thing that I pick up is the way that people assess having blessings. So they think that if they have a certain blessing, that they're with Allah, in the sight of Allah, somehow positioned, at a higher status. So why has Allah not given me this? He gives it to people who are, more sinful, as an example, or doing all these bad things, and they get things. So why don't I get it? And it really is a very shallow way of looking at how blessings are distributed. Allah can give you everything. Honestly, Allah can give you all the wealth. He doesn't need to keep anything from you. He doesn't lose anything by giving you. He could give you the world and a 10 worlds and it would mean nothing. So don't think of it as being a stinginess from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It really isn't. It's a generosity that He understands us, and each of us is given the test that is appropriate to us. And our job is not to think about the thing that we have, the blessing that we have, but rather to think about our attitude towards the thing that we have, or the thing that we don't have as well. It's so easy to think that having a thing means that you are with Allah in a certain way, that Allah sees you in a certain way, and that's not true. What it means is that those that have things will be tested for their gratitude, for what they do with that blessing, and those that don't will also be tested by their gratitude and their patience and what they do when they don't have something. Both are in tests, and it's not about looking at what object is, the object of it being your degree or your achievement or your children or your wealth or whatever that might be, it really is about thinking, how am I approaching this? What is my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when I've gone through this? And we ask Allah to give us the character, the conduct, the approach, the attitude, whatever those things are, the patience, the steadfastness, the trust in Allah, to know that He's done what's best for us. And I'm talking to you as a psychotherapist. And when we start to think that way, when we start to think of it from the lens of, oh, well, I haven't got this and I never got that, and what about all this? And we're assessing our life and being able to make an assessment based on what we don't have, I think it becomes really slippery, because when does it end? And in fact, if you went down the other road, as it says here, of then which of the blessings of your Lord will you, both jinns and man, deny? If we were on that path, we'd be lost in trying to name everything. We wouldn't have time to complain and to think about what we don't have. We would literally be like, Ya Allah, this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, eyes and nose and mouth and children, and all the times that we were saved from things, and all the time we were cured. And more than anything, in that process, the thing that you should remember is that you were able to go back to Allah. You were able to, in those times, stay connected to your Lord and believe that whatever He chose for you was the best. And so you feel safe and secure in knowing that everything's going to be okay, because we have such a kind and merciful Lord. So then he goes on to say, would you sell your ability to hear and see for the weight of Mount Uhud in gold, or your ability to speak in exchange for a huge castle? You have been given abundant favours, yet you feign ignorance. Notwithstanding warm bread, cool water, easy sleep, and good health, you remain despondent and depressed. And this is so true. There's so much depression that comes when we're in a state of ingratitude. Ya Allah, there's so much that's rooted. And I'm not, I don't want all of the people attacking me saying, oh, if we're just grateful, then depression goes. Before anybody knows that people's lives are complex and that people get depressed and people get sad. What we're talking about is from an Islamic lens, what are some of the remedies that we can apply in our lives to not get in that state? Like the medicines to help us to stay healthy in our minds and to stay positive. And this is absolutely one of them. Gratitude is absolutely one of those remedies that I 100% sign up to. And then he says, you think about what you do not have and are ungrateful for what you have been given. You are troubled by a loss in wealth, yet you have the key to happiness and many blessings. Contemplate and be thankful. And also in yourselves are signs will you not see. Reflect upon yourself, your family, your friends, and the entire world that is around you. They recognize the grace of Allah, yet they deny it. Quran 16:83. And that's the end of the chapter. The book is beautiful because the chapters are really small. That was literally a page and a half. And my practice to give to you is to read a chapter and not just read it and have these fleeting moments of, oh, okay, but to really think about, what can I take from this chapter? What can I take that will amplify my life, make my experience on this earth better, allow me to find peace when my tests come, allow me to remember the reason for my tests and how I shape them. The way in which I look at something can absolutely change the way I experience that thing. I will be going through each chapter as a series, inshallah. So watch out for them. And the next chapter, which we'll do next session, will be The Past is Gone Forever. And I hope that you will watch that because this book is fantastic. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.